we got this. So 7.3 is periodic trends in bonding and structure. So first word is periodic. So periodic means repetition after certain interval. If you literally see the meaning of periodic, it means repetition after certain interval. But in chemistry, what repetition we are talking about? For the chemistry, we are talking about repetition in terms of chemical properties. That is how they are going to react with other maybe element, compound, etc. Got it? So periodic means repetition after certain interval, and for chemistry or in chemistry we means repetition of in terms of chemical properties. That is how a particular element is going to react with other elements, compounds, maybe ions, etc. So now we are going to understand about the trends, that periodic trends, whatever the periodic trends we have in bonding and structure. Okay, yeah, now moving to your book. Okay, so first one is metals and non-metals. Now, one of the key trends in the periodic table is the change from metals to non-metals from left to right across each period. Now, if you see periodic table, yeah, this is your periodic table. So this is not the whole periodic table. This half of the periodic table is there. The other half is also there. So they have not shown you that half. Fine. Now, one of the key trends, okay, the changeover from metal to non-metal takes place on a diagonal line from top of the group 13 to the bottom of the group 17. Now, this is your group 13. So this, you can see this zigzag line.
Yeah.
Zigzag line, this zigzag line. This one is a separation between metals and non-metals. All these light colored ones are non-metal. And before this one are metals. That is from group 1 to 12 are metals, and then the rest one are non-metals. So metals and non-metals are separated in such manner in a periodic table. Now elements near to non-metal or elements near to metal oblique non-metal divided, example boron, silicon, germanium, arsenic and antimony can show in between the properties and are known as semi-metals or metalloids. Now, these elements, boron, silicon, arsenic, germanium, tellurium, okay, especially these 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4, and this one, sorry, this one also, antimony. These 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So these elements are on the borderline of metals and non-metals. Fine. Or we can say that they have properties of both metals and non-metals, and that's why they are known as metalloids or semi-metals. Okay. Is that point clear?
Yeah.
Why they are known as semi-metals or metalloids? Because their properties are mixed with both metals as well as non-metals. Fine?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, second, what they are saying, going downwards, these groups, there is a trend from non-metal to metal. Now, going down these groups, if you're moving from top to bottom, there is a trend from non-metal to metal. Now, whenever we are moving from top to bottom, the metallic character increases, or the element is supposed to be more metallic in nature than that of the higher one. Suppose if
Yeah.
we are comparing with boron, aluminium, gallium, indium, and this one, the boron is supposed to be the most non-metallic, and indium is supposed to be the most metallic one. Got it?
Yeah.
So going down the group, there is a trend from non-metal to metal, and the divide is clearest in group 14. Group 14, this division is very pretty much clear. Now carbon and silicon, they are considered to be a non-metal. Okay. The two elements on the either side divide the silicon and the germanium are semi-metal. Silicon and germanium, these two are considered to be a semi-metal, and carbon is considered to be a metal. And then the last one, Pb, that is lead and tin, they are considered to be a metal. Got it? Clear?
Yeah.
So these silicon and germanium are separating non-metals and metals in one group. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now there are more metallic. There are far more metallic than non-metallic elements. 92 metals to 22 non-metals. If you are comparing the number of metals and non-metals, the non-metal numbers are pretty much less. There are only 22 non-metals in a full periodic table, and we have 92 metals in the periodic table. However, despite being the minority in the periodic table, non-metals are extremely important, especially the elements carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen in the organic chemistry and in the biochemistry. It's not like that these non-metals are not there pretty much in number, so they are not of any use. They are very, very useful, and especially this carbon. If I say for this carbon only, the whole separate branch of chemistry is there on the name of carbon, that is organic chemistry. In that we learn about the carbon and its compound. So carbon along with hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen, we study all these things together in the form of organic chemistry, and especially whatever the biological things are going inside our body and activities are there, all are come under biochemistry, and we studied all these things. Got it clear?
Yeah.
Okay. And one more thing, special thing about carbon is that carbon is the, you can say, element which forms maximum number of compounds. No other element can form more number of compounds than that of the carbon. That's why we have a separate study for carbon that is known as organic chemistry, and rest all the elements are studied under inorganic chemistry. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Manya, if you have any doubt, you can ask. Don't hesitate in asking any doubt. Okay, bache?
Okay.
Okay. Now, metallic bonding structures and properties. Okay. Now, at the room temperature, all metals except mercury are solid. The 92 known metals have a wide range of properties, and some are strong and hard, like tungsten, symbol is W, and some are soft like lead, Pb, and some light aluminium, and some are very heavy like osmium, which is twice as dense as lead. Now, if you see the metals, now metals, most of the metals are solid in nature except the one, that is mercury. So mercury exists as a liquid in at room temperature. So among the 92 elements, the properties are totally different from each other. Like lead, sodium, they are very light, they are very soft elements. Sodium, potassium, lead, they are very soft. And if you see tungsten, this is one of the hard metal.
Yeah.
Some elements are very, very light in weight, and some are very heavier. Osmium is one of the heaviest, or you can say the densest element we have. If you are comparing the density of osmium and that of the lead, it is twice. So osmium is twice as dense as that of the lead. So the one constant property of all the metals is the ability to conduct electricity. So the constant property of each and every metal is the ability to conduct electricity. And this is a remarkable property for a solid, as charge must be able to move within the rigid structure for conduction to take place. Now, what do you mean by this ability to conduct electricity? It means that the charge particle, any charge particle can move across that particular structure from one place to other place or from one point to other point. If that particular charge is able to move from one point to other point, we call this as that they have an ability to conduct electricity. Clear?
Yeah.
And the other is also that they have the ability to conduct thermal conductivity is also there. Thermal means heat. Metals also have the ability to conduct heat also from one point to other point. And again, this thermal conductivity can also be, in some elements it's more and in some elements it's less. So it is not a fixed thing also. Got it?
Okay. Yeah.
Any doubt in this one, metallic bonding structure and property?
No.
Okay, now metallic bonding and structure. You have already met two types of chemical bond, ionic and the covalent bond. So you know what is ionic and the covalent bond? Do I need to explain?
No, I know that.
Okay. Now tell me, what is ionic bond?
It's bond between metals and non-metals.
Very good. And
Covalent is between non-metals and non-metals.
okay, wait. I will tell you what is metallic and covalent bond. Just give me a second. Okay, the first one is ionic bond. Now, ionic bond, you have rightly said, it is a bond between a metal and non-metal. So this is shared now. Metal and non-metal. You can see PPT. Okay. Now in this, metal loses electron and convert itself as cation. It is positive charge particle. Okay. And
Okay.
electron is gained by non-metal and convert itself as anion, that is negative charge particle. Here, now suppose sodium convert itself into as a Na positive and loses one electron. Okay, Manya?
Yeah.
And this electron is gained by chlorine and convert itself into Cl negative.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sodium is a metal, so it loses one electron. And then
Yes.
a non-metal,
Correct.
so it
Perfect.
gains.
Perfect. Sodium is a metal and yep, very good. So sodium, I will write there. Sodium being metal loses electron and chlorine gains electron. Now you can see here we have Na positive and Cl negative. Fine. Now this positive and negative charge particle, what they will do? They will try to attract each other.
Yeah.
Okay. And there is a bond between them. This opposite charge particle
Yeah.
tries to attract each other. So we can say try to attract each other. So this is known as ionic bond here. And
Oh.
nature of ionic bond, yes, you want to say something? Is electrostatic in nature. Is electrostatic. Yes, Manya, you want to say something?
No, I understand.
Okay. Now, one thing you have to remember. In formation of ionic bond, there is complete transfer of electrons from one element to other. Remember that this is important. So if somebody asks you what are ionic bond, so don't tell that it's a bond between a metal and non-metal. You have to define it. Ionic bond is a bond in which there is a complete transfer of electron from one species to other.
Okay.
Clear?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, now we will study about covalent. Covalent bond, any idea what you were saying? It's a bond between non-metals,
And non-metal.
non-metals and non-metals. Or this is a bond formed by sharing of electrons. Okay, this is a bond formed by sharing of electrons. Like, suppose hydrogen. Now, hydrogen is having one electron in their outermost shell,
Yeah.
and chlorine is having 7 electrons in their outermost shell.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in order to complete its duplet, hydrogen needs only 1 electron.
Yeah.
So hydrogen shared 1 electron from chlorine. Fine. And in order to
Okay.
complete its octet, chlorine can ask 1 electron from hydrogen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what we can say, hydrogen and chlorine, they have shared electrons in order to complete one's duplet and octet. So there is a bond formation between hydrogen and chlorine. And as the electrons are shared, this bond is known as covalent bond. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, I will give you one example from your day-to-day life. Suppose you have mobile phone. Fine. You have one more sister na, or brother is there?
I have just one sister.
You have one more sister na?
Just one.
Okay, you are alone.
No, I have one sister.
One more sister. Okay, okay, one more sister. Suppose you have class from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Okay, and you are using your one tablet you are using. Fine. Or
Yeah.
iPad. Suppose iPad is there. You are using iPad from 9 a.m. to 8 to 9 a.m. Fine. This is
Yeah.
Manya's class. Now suppose from 9:15 p.m. to 10:15 p.m. The sister is having class. So again, she was using iPad. Fine. So you both have shared iPad with different times. Whenever you required, you are having iPad. Whenever your sister requires, she is having iPad. So we can say that iPad is shared by both. Clear? One iPad is shared by both of you, na? Manya, is that clear? Am I audible?
Yeah, you just glitched for a sec. But
Okay,
yeah, I understand.
now it's clear.
Yeah, I
This
understand.
iPad is shared by both of you. In a similar manner, we can say this electrons are shared by
It's
both.
shared.
Yes,
Yeah.
got it? This electron is
Yeah.
shared by both hydrogen and chlorine. Now we will see one more example. Suppose oxygen O2. How this O2 is formed? Oxygen 1, 2. Oxygen is having how many electrons in the valence shell? 6 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now one more oxygen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I will write. Now this oxygen needs 2 electrons. So they took 2 electrons from this one. And this one needs 2 electrons. So they took 2 from this one. So we have O double bond O. Now this one line, this one bond is
Yeah.
symbol for 2 electrons, for 2 shared electrons. This is also 2 shared electron, or we can say 1 pair of electron is shared. Here, nitrogen is having triple bond in which 3 pair of electrons are shared. Is that clear? Manya, is that clear, beta?
Yeah. Yeah.
Any doubt?
Yeah. It's just the voice is not coming up.
Your voice is not coming. Well,
Yeah, I'm just turning the voice up volume.
okay, just increase. You are using this earphones or not?
Yeah, I'm using earphones, but it's okay now.
It's okay. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. All these points are clear. Any doubt in this covalent and this one? Clear now?
No. Yeah, it's
Okay. Now
clear.
coming back to your theory part. Okay. So we have already known to the two types of chemical bonding, that is ionic and the covalent one. Now, metallic bonding is a special type of bonding for metals. Now we are going to learn about metallic bonding. That is a very special type of bonding for metals. Now, what happens in metallic bonding? Now, in a solid metal structure, each atom has donated its negative outer shell electrons to a shared pool of electrons, which are delocalized, that is, spread out throughout the whole structure. Okay. The positive ions cations left behind consist of nucleus and the inner electron shells of the metal atom, which is known as kernels. The metallic bonding is the stronger electrostatic attraction between cations, positive charge and delocalized electron. You can see figure number 2. Figure number 2 is this one. Now see, this atom is having positive charge, and
Yeah.
these positive charge are in pool of electrons, and so therefore they have strong forces of attraction. The cation are fixed in position, maintaining the structure and shape of the metal. The delocalized electrons are mobile and are able to move throughout the structure.
Yeah.
These are the delocalized. These electrons are delocalized one and they can move throughout the structure. The only electron move, sorry, the only electron move, or we can say in this case, only electron is the one which can move. Now, in this figure, we can see there are 12 cations, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 12 cations, each with a positive charge and 12 electrons, each with -1 charge. Now, this balances the charge. Now, positive and negative cancels out each other, and this balances the charge. For metals containing +2 cation, twice as many negatively charged electrons are present to balance their charge. Now, whatever the number of positively charged particles are there, it will have a similar number of negatively charged elements, negatively charged electrons, which cancels out their charges, which cancels out their charge. Now, in a metallic structure, billions of metal atoms are held together by metallic bonding in a giant metallic lattice. Is that point clear?
Yeah.
Got it? Do I need to repeat it again? Little
Can
bit?
you repeat it again in case?
Yes. You can ask. Now, okay, now see metallic bond. Now, what is metallic bond? Read it carefully again. In a solid metal structure, each atom has donated its negatively outer shell electrons to a shared pool of electrons. Okay, now see. Suppose this is sodium. Fine.
Yeah.
Sodium is having 11 electron and 11 proton.
Yeah.
Electronic configuration is 281.
Yeah.
Okay. Now suppose this is a sodium metal pool. Fine. It loses one electron and convert itself into Na positive.
Yeah.
Okay. Suppose there are millions of Na positive are there, and suppose there are so many millions, and they will lose one electron.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is having +1 charge, and there is one electron. So their charge will cancel out each other.
Yeah.
And these positive ions are fixed. They have fixed position. And these electrons are mobile. They can move here and there. They are mobile in nature. Fine?
Yeah.
Mobile in nature means they can move here and there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, as they can move here and there, what will happen? These electrons are delocalized.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the positively charged anion. If you see these positively charged anion, this sodium lost one electron. Now, sodium is having 11 proton, and this is 11 protons are there in the nucleus,
Yeah. Yeah.
and 2 electrons in the first shell, and
Yeah.
8 electrons in the outermost shell.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
So proton, now this Na positive, it includes nucleus plus electron, or these electrons are of inner shell.
Okay. Yeah.
Here,
Yeah.
these are of inner shell. That is what it has been given. So the positively charged cation left behind consists of nucleus and the inner electron shell of the metal atom. And these cations are fixed in position and maintain the structure and the shape of the metal. And delocalized electrons are mobile and are able to move throughout the structure. Fine?
Yeah.
Any doubt?
No.
Now, in this way, metal structure, billions of metal atoms are held together by the metallic bonding in a giant metal lattice. Lattice means structure. In this manner, we get a big giant metal structure. Fine.
Okay, yeah.
And because of these delocalized electrons gives a metal a sort of, you can say, it's a roller is there between these two positively charged partners. These electrons are present like this. They are delocalized. Now, as
Yeah,
we
then
put pressure over them, what will happen? These
pressure.
electrons will make rolling, you can say, phenomena over it. So this layer and this layer will roll over each other.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what do you mean by this? Have you ever seen your mom making chapatis,
Yeah.
roti? So how she makes? They have a one rolling pin.
Yeah.
Okay, and she make a ball of dough. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, and over to this. Sorry, it's a little bit wrong. She just roll it, this dough, and this will become flat
Yeah.
because in the same way, as you put pressure over this, as you put pressure over these particles, it will roll over and convert itself into a sheet. That is known as
Okay.
what? Malleability of metals. Clear?
Can you say that again? The what of metal?
Malleability and ductility. Remember?
Okay.
Malleability and
Yeah.
ductility. What is malleability and
Yeah.
ductility?
Malleability is how malleable it can get. Like
Malleable means
bendable.
what? Converting into sheet or converting into what?
Like converting into sheet.
Hmm?
So like malleable, the meaning of malleable.
Malleable means converting into sheets.
Yeah.
If any block is there, if you hammer it, it will convert into sheet. Like suppose if we have an iron piece, if suppose I have this iron piece and put hammer over it, okay, then it will convert into like this sheet. Okay, got it?
Yeah.
Yes. So this property is because of these delocalized electrons only. Got it? Just wait, I will clear this all. Any doubt in this up to this one? Okay, ji. Now properties of metals. The first property is strong metallic bond, attraction between the positive and the delocalized electron. Now the positive and the delocalized electrons attract each other, so they have strong metallic bond. High electrical conductivity. Electrical conductivity is very high because the electrons are delocalized. They are free to move from one place to other place. An electron is of very less mass. So that's why they have high electrical conductivity. Because electron is free to move and electron is free to move and what? And is uh-huh, and is light, fast moving entity. Okay, just write it down there. This is light and fast moving entity. Here,
Yeah.
fine. Then high melting and boiling point. Why they have high melting and boiling point? Because of the strong forces of attraction. As the two forces of attraction are very strong, so therefore we require a more amount of energy to get, you can say, to get from this force of attraction, to overcome that force of attraction. Clear? Manya, any doubt, beta? Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, ji. The physical properties of metal can be explained in the terms of giant structure of the lattice and the metallic bonding. Now we have electrical conductivity. Now metals conduct electricity in solid and liquid state. When a voltage is applied across a metal, the delocalized electron can move throughout the structure carrying the charge. Now these delocalized electrons can move from one place to other place. That is, in between the structure, they can move and they carry the electrical charge. Got it clear?
Yeah.
Now contrast this ability with the conductivity of ionic compound. In case of ionic compound, in solid state, ionic compounds have a very high force of attraction, but they are not having any electron. Clear? Now, if you remember, if you see, this ionic compound means Na positive and Cl negative only. Clear? Na positive and Cl negative, they combine with each other and they form solid compound. Manya?
Yeah.
Yes, they form solid. Yeah, do I need to repeat it?
No, that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. If you remember, in case of ionic compound, sodium and chlorine, they have positive and negative charge. So they have strong forces of attraction. Fine?
Yeah.
And they are not having any free electron for motion, for conduction. Clear?
Yeah.
Now suppose, okay, now I will tell you what do you mean by this thing. Now suppose these days you have school going on, fine. Suppose there is a weekend is there, your school teacher has given you 20 questions to do. And I also gave you 10 questions to do. Fine. Now you are not free. Already you have so many work to do. So you are not having any free time. So it means you are not able to do your work. Clear?
Yeah.
It means you will not be able to do your work. Fine. Now suppose there is no work you are getting from school and I gave you 10 questions. You can easily do that work. Why? Because you have time. Yes or no? Am I audible? In a similar manner, in case of ionic compound, the force of attraction is so strong that they are not able to get any, there is no any free electron. So that's why in this case, there is no conduction of electricity in solid state. Okay. But in case of metallic bond, as we have seen, where is this metallic bond? In this case of metallic bond, we have delocalized electrons that are free. These are free to move, free to move. So that's why we can say that metallic compounds or metallic bonding can cause conduction in electricity. Is that clear, Manya? Am I audible? Okay. Now you want to do this topic also? Shall we finish this one? Yeah, we have time now. We will finish this also. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have melting and boiling points. Now most metals have high melting and boiling point. Why they have high melting and boiling point? Again, strong forces of attraction. If the force of attraction between the two elements is strong, it means we require more energy to separate them. Fine?
Yeah. Yeah.
Suppose you and your best friend. If I want to separate you and your best friend, I need to give you a solid reason against your best friend, so that you will hate her or hate him, so that you will not talk to him or her. Fine?
Yeah.
Because the force of attraction between you and your friend is so high that a small excuse will not work. In the same way, in the case of chemistry, we require so much amount of heat. And this heat is in terms of temperature. We can measure that heat in terms of temperature. That's why most metals have high melting and boiling point, because the force of attraction between them is very, very strong, or it's a very high force of attraction. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now see in this figure 4, colored shading is used to compare the melting point of transition metals. Now, transition metals are the metals which are in between metals and non-metals, in which you can say that they're they are giving you a transition, that they show that changes from metal to a non-metal. They are in between the metals and non-metal, not in between the metals and non-metal, but they are showing the things from a typically metal to a typical non-metal. Fine, they are showing a transition from metal to a non-metal. Now, if we see tungsten has highest melting point, that is 3422 degrees Celsius. Tungsten, W, this one, is having the highest melting point. That is why it is used as filament in halogen lamps. Underline this part. We have bulbs. Bulbs. Have you ever seen a bulb? We have this type of filament. Have you ever seen this filament? This filament is made up of tungsten.
Yeah.
Okay. In the contrast, we have mercury. Mercury, this is Hg, Hg mercury. Mercury is liquid at room temperature, and the boiling point is minus 39 degrees Celsius. So there's a huge range of melting and boiling point of different elements. So on the metal, the other metals at low temperature includes those in group 1 to the periodic table, which have melting point below 200 degrees Celsius. So if we study the group 1 elements, they have melting point below 200 degrees Celsius. The melting point depend upon the strength of metallic bond holding together the atoms in the giant metal lattice. I've already told you that melting and boiling point depends upon the forces of attraction, or you can say it depends upon the strength of metallic bonds that hold the atoms together in a giant metallic structure or a lattice.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, for most metals, high temperature are necessary to provide large amount of energy needed to overcome strong electrostatic attraction between the cations and the electrons. Now, in case of metallic bonds, there is a positive charge particle in the
So
electron
I have
pool.
a question.
Yes, yes.
So you need high temperature for
Breaking, yes.
like break for the
We need high temperature to break the forces of attraction between a positive charge particle and that of the delocalized electron. Okay.
So you need high temperature for that.
Yes, temperature. Yes.
Okay.
If high temperature is
Yeah.
required, it means the melting point and boiling point is high.
Yeah.
Got it?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Suppose you have okay, what I will say. Suppose you want to melt wax, and you want to melt a iron rod, which will melt easily. Wax candle. Why? Because the melting point is less. It means the force of attraction between the positive charge particle, that is the cation, and that of the electron pool is not that great.
Yeah.
Got it? Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So for most metals, the high temperature are necessary to provide large amount of energy needed to overcome the strong electrostatic attraction between the cations and the electrons. And this strong attraction results in most metals having high melting and boiling point. So you have to just remember that because of the strong forces of attraction between the cations and the delocalized electron, the melting point and the boiling point of metals are high.
Yeah.
Clear?
Yeah.
Any doubt?
No,
No?
no.
Okay, ji.
I,
Yes, beta.
is the solubility and okay.
Yes, you want to do it right now or tomorrow? We will do the solubility.
Uh,
Solubility is easy. We will do it. Then rest we will do it later on. Fine.
okay.
Yeah, we still have around 10 minutes. So 5 minutes are there. We will do this solubility. Now, solubility is dissolving in water or
Yeah.
in any other, you can say solvent, dissolving part. So metal do not dissolve. It might be expected that there would be some interaction between the polar solvent and the charges in a metallic lattice. Now, polar solvent are those solvents which have positive and negative charges. Now, as the polar solvent have positive and negative charges, there might be a chance that the charges of the metallic lattice will have some sort of interaction with the polar solvent. Are you getting my point? What I'm trying to say? We know that metals in a metallic bond, there is a positive and negative charge. In
Yeah.
case of polar solvent, there is again positive and negative charge. When these
Yeah.
two positive and negative charges come near to each other, there will be some interaction. But suppose
Wait, so
if
when
you
they
and your
come,
friend are sitting there, sitting, so it's not, it can't be like that. You will sit, you and your friend sit, keep quiet. You are going to interact anyhow.
yeah,
If your teacher is saying no need, no talking should be there in the class, but you will write, you will try to communicate yourself anyhow.
yeah,
Hmm?
yeah,
And some of your interaction may lead to the teacher will see,
yeah.
and what then she will scold you or she will punish you.
She, she would.
She might catch you while interacting. She told you do not interact, but you guys are the one which are not going to stop. You will necessarily interact with each other. So this same case is there with the metal. Now, it might be expected that there would be some interaction between the polar solvent and the charges in the metallic lattice. The metallic lattice is having some charge, polar solvent is having some charge. So they are going to interact, but any interaction will lead to a chemical reaction rather than dissolving part. Fine. So this interaction is known as a this interaction is known as a reaction, not the dissolving. Clear?
Yeah, yeah,
As we have in the case of sodium and water. Now, when sodium, see, when sodium is mixed with water, instead of dissolving in water, sodium reacts and forms sodium hydroxide and liberate hydrogen gas. The chemical reaction takes place. Chemical reaction takes place. Clear?
yeah.
Okay. Is that clear? Any doubt?